I signed the papers on a Tuesday. I remember because it was raining and I thought that was a good sign. Rain means growth, right? My grandmother used to say that. She would have hated what happened next. I am Claire, and this is my story. My grandmother left me everything. Not because I was her favorite, though maybe I was, but because I was the one who showed up. Every Sunday. Every hospital visit. Every 3 a.m. phone call when she couldn't remember where she was. My mother didn't come. My uncle didn't come. It was just me and Grandma Rose in that small house on Birchwood Lane, watching old movies and eating too many crackers, and somewhere in all of that, she decided I was the one she trusted. The inheritance wasn't enormous. About $340,000. The house, some savings, a few pieces of jewelry that meant more than their price. For a 29-year-old woman working 2 jobs and sleeping on a pull-out couch in a studio apartment, it felt like a door opening. It felt like finally. But I made a mistake. I told my family before I had a plan. My mother called me crying the same night I told her. Not sad crying. The other kind. The kind that comes right before and ask. She said my Uncle Marcus had gambling debts. She said he was going to lose his house. She said Grandma Rose would have one of the family taken care of. And I sat there on that pull-out couch, and I thought about Grandma Rose's hands. How soft they were. How she used to hold mine when she was scared. And I thought, maybe my mother was right. Maybe this is what you do with unexpected money. You don't hoard it. You use it to save the people you love. I gave Marcus $80,000 to settle his debts. I gave my mother $45,000 so she could fix her roof and pay off her car. I kept the rest. I bought a small condo. I started a savings account for the first time in my life. I felt good. I felt generous. I felt like a person who had done the right thing. That lasted about 4 months. The first sign something was wrong came from a woman named Deirdre. I didn't know Deirdre. She called me out of nowhere on a Wednesday afternoon and said she was a bookkeeper and she was sorry to bother me, but had I authorized a withdrawal from my grandmother's estate before the official transfer? I said no. She got very quiet. She said she'd look into it and call me back. She never did. I should have chased that call. I didn't. I told myself it was an administrative error. I told myself everything was fine because everything felt fine. My mother was texting me more. Marcus invited me to a barbecue. For the first time in years, I felt like I had a family. You know how badly some of us want that? Bad enough to miss the signs right in front of us. The second sign came from Marcus's neighbor, an older man named Gerald who'd known my grandmother for 30 years. We ran into each other at the grocery store, and he hugged me and said how sorry he was. I thanked him, and then he said, "It's a shame what they did with the house." I asked him what he meant. He looked uncomfortable. He said, "Oh, I must have it wrong. Never mind." And he walked away so fast he forgot his basket. I went home, and I pulled out every document I had from the estate. I read them until 2 in the morning. And that's when I found it, a deed transfer. Signed 6 weeks before my grandmother died. The Birchwood Lane house, the house I thought was part of my inheritance, had already been transferred. Quietly. Legally. To my Uncle Marcus. My grandmother's signature was on it. But here's the thing. I knew my grandmother's signature. I'd seen it my whole life. On birthday cards. On the back of photographs. On the letter she wrote me when I turned 18 that I still keep in my nightstand. The signature on that deed, it was close. But it wasn't hers. The R in Rose curled the wrong way. She always curved it left. This one went right. I sat on my kitchen floor for a long time. Not crying yet. Just sitting. Trying to make it make sense. My uncle had forged a deed. Or had someone forge it. And my mother who called me crying about wanting the family taken care of, had known. She had to have known. That $45,000 I gave her wasn't gratitude. It was a thank you for keeping me distracted while they took the most valuable thing. That was the first time I cried. Not pretty crying. The kind where you can't catch your breath, and you don't try to. I cried until my chest hurt, and then I just lay there on the floor, and I thought, was any of it real? Did she actually love me? Did any of them? Or was I just the one who showed up on Sundays because I was the easiest to use? I almost did nothing. That's the part I'm not proud of. For about 2 weeks, I almost just let it go, because confronting them meant losing them. And as angry as I was more scared of that. I'd spent my whole life on the outside of that family. Those 4 months of barbecues and text messages and feeling like I belonged somewhere, I didn't want to give that up. Even if it was built on a lie. Even knowing what I knew. The second breaking point came when I called my mother. I didn't tell her what I'd found. I just said I missed her. And she said, "Claire, I have to be honest with you. Marcus is struggling again. I was thinking maybe you could help." And something in me just broke open. Because she wasn't even careful anymore. I was still useful. That's all I'd ever been. I hung up. And I made a different call. Her name was Patricia Doone. She was an estate attorney, and she was recommended to me by Gerald, the neighbor with the grocery basket, who turned out to be a retired judge with a very long memory and a very low opinion of my Uncle Marcus. Patricia was 60-something, small, extremely calm, and when I laid out every document on her conference table, she looked at me over her glasses and said, "How soon do you want to move?" Patricia found 3 things. First, the deed transfer had been filed using a notary whose license had lapsed 8 months prior. Invalid. Second, there were 2 witnesses listed on the document, and one of them, when Patricia's investigator tracked her down, said she'd signed a blank form and had no idea what it was for. Third, and most devastatingly, my grandmother had visited a different attorney 3 weeks before she died. She'd gone alone. She had updated her will to explicitly include a clause that said the Birchwood Lane property was to go to me, and only me. That will had never been filed. It had been sitting in a folder in that attorney's office because nobody had told him she was gone. Marcus hadn't just forged a deed. He'd raced the clock. He'd known about the updated will, and he'd moved before it could be filed. Patricia filed a civil suit for deed fraud. The lapsed notary issue alone was enough to void the transfer. But we didn't stop there. We reported the fraudulent filing to the county recorder's office. We contacted the state bar about the notary. Patricia's investigator kept pulling threads and found that Marcus had done something similar to a business partner 7 years earlier. Settled quietly, sealed records. But it was there if you knew where to look. A pattern. That matters in civil court. Marcus's attorney called Patricia 4 weeks after we filed. He wanted to settle. Patricia said we'd talk numbers when Marcus returned the property and submitted a full written accounting of any funds moved through the estate before transfer. Marcus's attorney said that wasn't realistic. Patricia said, "Then we'll see you in court, and we'll see that pattern entered into the record." There was a very long pause on that call. Patricia told me about it afterward, smiling just slightly, the way very calm people smile when they've already won. They settled. Marcus signed over the deed. He paid back $60,000 in documented estate funds that had been moved. We couldn't prove all of it, but we proved enough. The house on Birchwood Lane came back to me. The legal fees ate some of it. I didn't care. I stood in that house the day the transfer cleared, and I touched the wallpaper in the hallway. Faded yellow flowers, the kind Grandma Rose refused to replace because she liked them, and I let myself feel it. All of it. My mother called me 2 days later. She wanted to explain. I let her talk for a while. She said Marcus had pressured her. She said she hadn't known about the forgery, only the plan to handle things before the estate got complicated.
She cried.
Real crying or the other kind, I honestly couldn't tell anymore. And when she finished, I said, "I know, Mom." And I hung up. I haven't blocked her. I haven't cut her off completely. But I haven't called her back either. I'm not sure what I'm waiting for. Maybe nothing. Maybe I just needed to stop making myself available to people who see availability as weakness. The house on Birchwood Lane is rented now. The income covers my mortgage, and then some. I go back sometimes not to the inside, just to the street. I sit in my car, and I look at that yellow wallpaper through the front window when the tenants leave the light on, and I talk to Grandma Rose a little. Not out loud. Just in my head. I tell her I'm okay. I tell her I figured it out. I tell her the R in her signature. I'd know it anywhere. Here's what nobody tells you about betrayal from family. It doesn't make you stop loving them. It doesn't even always make you angry. Sometimes it just makes you quiet. It makes you careful in a way you weren't before. It changes where you put your trust and how quickly you extend it. And that's not entirely a bad thing. I'm not bitter. Or, I'm trying not to be. Some days I'm better at that than others. What I know for sure is this. My grandmother spent 30 years watching the wrong people walk away from her. And she spent her last years letting the right one in. She updated that will for a reason. She made sure, as best she could, that I was protected. It almost didn't work. But almost isn't the same as didn't. I signed papers again last month. A new investment. My name only. No one else's. And this time when I walked out into the rain, I didn't look for signs. I just got in my car. I turned on the heat, and I drove home.